Okay, everybody, we'll make a start. I'm sure others will be joining us. But I wanted to kick off. My name is Professor Lauren Rickards, and it's a pleasure to be able to welcome you here tonight. I'd like to start by acknowledging that we're meeting on the unceded lands and waters of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nations, and pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. I'd like to thank all of Australia's traditional owners for their hard work in caring for country, and their perhaps even harder work now in helping us settlers see and value country, even in the densest urban environments. So I get to open this event tonight because I'm director of RMIT's Urban Futures Enabling Impact platform, which has been delighted to be able to fund the visit from Salvador Rueda, who's here with us tonight. So the Enabling Impact platforms are designed to bring researchers and practitioners, policymakers together to tackle really complex cross-sectoral issues. The focus of the Urban Futures platform is the particular question of urban environments broadly conceived, whether that's buildings and infrastructure, communications and jurisdictions, water, vegetation, people. The question of how we're shaping urban environments, and of course the question of how our urban environments shape us, both intentionally and unintentionally, is at the heart of many urban policy issues. And that's none truer than the particularly interesting question we're here to see tonight, which is this deceptively simple question of traffic flows and how we alter them in the grid. So without further ado, I'd like to hand over to my dear colleague, Professor Marco Amati, who's going to introduce tonight's talk and our special guest. Thank you.
Thanks, Lauren. Just by way, I guess, of starting, I just want to acknowledge as well the traditional owners on the land on which we stand, which is unceded, the lands of the Boomerang and Woiwurrung speaking peoples of the Eastern Kulin Nations. And also to acknowledge country as a kind of a holistic way of thinking about the environment, which in a way accords very well with the theme of tonight's lecture, which is around ecosystemic urbanism. You may be wondering why I've got this rather odd slide behind me. These are a few of the massive online open courses that we run that are also very related to the topic of tonight's talk. And the big QR code is not to do with a COVID sign-in, thank God, but actually is if you want to put any questions to Salvador, then I encourage you just to get your phone out and put this address in your phone so it's ready. You can type in a question and then I will read them out, and because we might not actually get to all of the questions tonight if people use the microphone, given the sort of logistics of the room. Just a little bit of an introduction about Salvador now and his very remarkable career. Salvador really started his work in architecture and design in a very unusual roundabout kind of way. He actually was beginning a career in research on brains and psychology. And he took a little break from that in the mid-1970s to work for a sort of radical community school in Barcelona suburbs in Sant Adrià de Besòs that faced very significant environmental and social challenges. And as part of his work for that school, they started protesting against the building of a freeway in quite close to the center of Barcelona, to the east, in a place called, which is now the Rambla de Prim. And they organized themselves almost similar to the Eastern Freeways protest, doing all kinds of actions, like in this case, burying a car so as to stop the building and so on. And in fact, it turned out to be Spain's first urban environmental group. So he went on from founding that group, or co-founding it, to increasingly being called upon to do urban design and architectural work. He worked for many years for the Barcelona's municipality, inquiring about topics to do with urban metabolism, and started this project on Superblocks in 1987. Some of you will probably know the area of Barcelona that I'm talking about when I talk about the Born, a really beautiful, gentrified, very pedestrian part of Barcelona, and to think that at that time it was actually choked with cars is quite incredible to think of now. So he was involved in that and was appointed in 2000 as the founding director of Barcelona Ecologia, a sort of special research-dedicated division of Barcelona's municipality. He went on then to become a leading investigator of 13 European-funded projects, the author of 6 books, and is currently advisor to the World Bank on cities as diverse as Moscow, Vancouver, and most recently, in fact, Bogota and Lima, which is where he's come from to Melbourne. He is also at the same time drafting Spain's national metropolitan strategy for the next 30 years or so. So I'm delighted that Salvador has taken time from this very busy schedule to come and spend time in Melbourne, and above all to share his reflections on this city with us as we kind of face really some very serious challenges for urban futures. So thank you, Salvador.
The slide?
Yeah.
Okay. And the pointer was also?
This one,
no?
this one,
Yes.
this one should work. Yeah, that works. Okay, anyway, both. We mustn't forget this. Okay.
Good afternoon. Thank you for this presentation, Marco. Thank you to the MIT to invite me to give this lecture. For me is an honor to stay today here, and I want to explain something about the ecosystemic urbanism, but through the Superblocks model. I want to explain today something about the Superblocks like based of urban mobility and space public model, but also like a base of the new urbanism, the ecosystemic urbanism, is the same. The presentation, okay. This sentence, in the case of the regeneration of the cities, is true, because we can redesign practically all without money, simply using the intelligence and the knowledge about how the networks are working in the cities, in particular the orthogonal networks. For this, it's possible to change practically all without change nothing. This is a sentence that a journalist, one time, when he's making an interview with me 50 years ago, when I explain for half an hour what is the Superblocks concept. After that, say, then you won't change everything without changing anything. And I contract this journalist after for my agency. The first, we have the cities, and we want to develop an approach of the cities like ecosystems. The ecosystems are in the urban ecosystems are the most complex systems that the human beings have created. It's true. But if we want to manage so complexity, we need models. If not, it's not possible. Recently, every week or every month appear a new type of city. Healthy city, sustainable city, resilient city, 15 minutes city, carbon neutral city, intelligent smart city. But all of these type of cities, if they want to get the objectives to be compact in their morphology, complex in their and mixed uses in their organization, efficient in their metabolism, it means energy, water and materials, and also must be with equality, with social cohesion. This is the fourth axis that all the type of cities needs if they want to get the objective of each type of city. At the end, this model is adopted by the new habitat in the international urban agenda, and in my country, the government of Spain also adopted this model to spread in all the cities in Spain. We have here the four axes, and after that we need tools to fit these axes. And for this, I develop these principles, 15 principles that develop the different elements of the axis, of the model axis. At the end, we want to know what is the morphology of the city, and we propose to be compact, to have compact cities. The dispersion and diffuse cities is in that moment one of the most unsustainable processes in our cities. The suburbia must be reduced. We need compact cities. We need proximity. We need to reduce the consume of the soil. We need to have public space, not urbanization, no urbanized space. We need livability in our cities. We need to have a good public transport. The critical mass to have public transport only comes if we have a compact, a complex city. If not, it's not possible. We need the cars after that. At the end, these principles is the tool to go against the current uncertainties. One of the most known is the climate emergency, but we have others. At the end, this ecosystemic urbanism, the 15 principles of the ecosystemic urbanism, want to reduce the dysfunctions in the city, want to reduce the impact, the current impact of the city in the global change. And when these principles are in balance, we recognize that the results change totally and reduce the uncertainties and to increase our capacity of anticipation. After that, also we need to objectify and evaluate all of aspects related with the principles and at the end of the urban model access. With these indicators, we can know how compact is our city or our neighborhood or even our project if we are planifying a new urban development. How is the compact? How complex is? How is the efficient the project that we are developing? And how is the social cohesion is? With the current tools we have, it's very easy to know and to follow the good direction to planify and to regenerate the current cities. Normally, it's not usual to do this. For this, I wrote a book. It's a charter to planify the cities with an approach, ecosystemic approach. And at the end, with this charter, is a charter for the people that work in urbanism or in architecture know very well. For example, the Charter of Athens. Charter of Athens was a charter where the modernism movement proposed to the industrial cities to make compatible the different functions inside of the city. But the results of this movement is in the other things, the zoning, and the zoning is not sustainable, in my opinion. We need another framework, we need other principles that the challenge in that moment are very different to the challenge of the middle and the half of the 20th century, where this modernism movement developed their works. The first part of my lecture is related with the Superblock like a basis of the mobility and public space model of any city. This is the current scenario, mobility current scenario in Barcelona. These streets today are dedicated to mobility, traffic mobility. It means that 85% of our public space is related with movements, practically related with cars. If we want to change this scenario, we need to change the urban mobility model. If not, it's not possible. It's practically impossible to do nothing more than movements because it's very dangerous. Make other uses in that streets. At the end, the city is full of concrete, asphalt, and cars. In our cities in the Mediterranean countries, in summer is very, very hot. And every year is hotter. And then we need to adapt of this change of climate change. Then we need to remove all of this. We need to reduce 3 or 4 degrees if we want to project in the future. This is the proposal that I developed in 1987. But at the end, when the framework and the elements to make decisions are mature, it's possible to change. And in that moment is very quickly the possibility to change and regenerate the cities with this Superblock model. In that case, we are realized practically 70% of the surface of the city today involved with mobility, in particular mobility of cars. 70% is released with the Superblock model. It means that more than 2,000 streets become pedestrian. 70%. More than 7 million of square meters. And what is the percentage of traffic that we need to reduce to get this liberation of surface, urban surface, urban streets? Only 15% for Barcelona. 70%, 50%. It's quite magic. This an anecdote. One time came to visit us at the agency, a group, Chinese of the municipality, I don't remember the city, more than 10 million of people visit our office. And when I explained this, the director of the delegation told me, "You are not technician, you are a magician." But the magic things involved of this is the skills of the networks. This is an orthogonal network. It's the most efficient inside of the cities. This is the key. Then, when we change the characteristics of inside of the superblocks, you will see how change practically all the variables. All, it means all. Air pollution, noise, accidents, renaturalization, emission of gas, I don't remember the word in English. Greenhouse gases is reducing also the energy, etc., etc. Like Barcelona, in that moment, we are working in Quito, in Madrid, in Asunción, Paraguay, in Buenos Aires, in Bogotá, in Vitoria-Gasteiz, in A Coruña, in Córdoba. A lot of cities are working in the same model, because we need to change urgently our cities. It's not possible to change different parts, little parts, areas inside of the cities. If we want to reduce the greenhouse gases and mitigate the climate change, we need general solutions and to implement very quickly, perhaps in 10 years, not more. Then, in the first case, in the case of the Barcelona's example, we know that 15% is not a problem for the traffic. Is not a problem, because it's a percentage similar that we get in the economic crisis. And nothing happened. It's not a traffic problem. Also, we need to know what is the investment to implement something like that. For Barcelona, only needs 300 million of euros. Nothing. With tactical solutions. In the case of Barcelona, 45 euros per square meter. It means that if we implement the 500 superblocks to spread and implant the superblock model in all Barcelona, 500 superblocks in 10 years, and we analyze what is the budget, annual budget of the city council, practically 3.5 billion of euros every year. In 10 years, it means 35 billions of euros. 300 millions is nothing. Nothing. In consequence, it's not a traffic problem, is not an investment problem, economic problem. The problem is in our mind. It's the mindset, the problem, and the politics. That they play with our mind. But we need something like that. The superblock model is the network. This is the current situation. This is the superblock model. It's a network. And is a model because it's possible to implement in every city. It depends on their morphology and the characteristic of the streets, the main streets inside of the city, that the results of the grid will be different and accommodated at every city. It's for this that the shape of the superblock is different, because it's accommodated to the morphology of the city. But the model looks for the maximum efficiency to release the maximum number of streets with a minimum percentage of traffic less. 70 for 15 in that case. And after that appear, this is a typical superblock in Barcelona in the Eixample fabric at left, where in the perimeter we have all of modes of transports of the city, because these streets are specialized to connect the different points inside of the city. It's for connections. But in Barcelona, and I propose also here in the CBD, we will see, is the public transport which define the perimeter of the superblocks. In the case of Melbourne, in the CBD, is the network of trams. Okay? The length of this part of the perimeter of this site is 400 meters. For 400 meters is the same length of the distance between the lines of trams in the CBD. It's perfect. It's already made. After that, only need dream. We will see what is the dream, because at the end, we don't break nothing. Here, inside of the superblock, is the prioritization of the uses is for pedestrians. But it's flexible, and we can go in with car. And we can arrive at all destinations inside of the superblock, but the slopes working not. The slopes allow us to go in that point, but go out behind of the point that you are going. It means that you can connect with all the facades of the buildings. If you want to go, you're parking, or for delivery, or it's possible to arrive. That's it. It means all people can arrive to the destination, but with some constrictions. For example, the first is the speed. Inside of the superblock, 10 kilometers per hour. Because with this speed, we can use the public space for all the citizen rights, even children playing in the middle of the streets, or people, vulnerable people, going in the middle of the streets safely. For example, blind people. Because the public space after that is for people, not for cars. For different uses, we can see also. Pedestrians and bicycles can go in both directions, but at 10 kilometers per hour. And even if the uses in the public space are determined, where the bicycle is not possible to ride, the cyclist must go with the bicycle inside. But normally, it will be possible to cross in both directions. Here we have the current situation, the superblock, and here appear the new pedestrian streets. 7 million of square meters released. And here we have the other mode of transport networks, in that case the public transport, bicycle, and this is the integration of all of modes of transports. And also we can see different green corridors, because we can change car for trees or vegetation. In the case of CBD in Melbourne, we have here the superblocks already designed for 400 meters. In that case, 200 for 400 meters. We make this accommodation because it doesn't matter. But at the end we have 12 superblocks in 2 square kilometers. In that proposal, we have here in Swanson the tram. But if we want to make something more livable this area, we can change this line to Russell Street. The reasons are different. I don't have time to explain. In the workshop, we explain it. But the main street in the more urban quality in that moment in the CBD is Swanson Street. But with the tram, it's not possible that the kids play in the middle of the street because it's dangerous. At the end, if we have this, we get, in that case, 20 junctions, where this junction is practically 100 square meters, new square in that junction. pedestrian. A pedestrian is a mode of transport. A citizen is something more. A citizen means that you can develop the citizen rights, not only displacement, even entertainment, exchange, culture, debate. All of this is possible to develop in a space where it's safety, it's peaceful, is a place to live, to develop the main important thing in the city is to develop the citizen rights. And at the end, the public space to become, with the possibilities to develop these citizen rights, to become the place to have the house of all. The house of all is the common house. And this become as citizens. The citizens come when I can develop all the rights that the city allows me. The displacement is not all the rights that I can develop. In the city of Barcelona, in that moment we have the 16% of the streets dedicated to pedestrian users. But this displacement with the Superblock model is practically the 70%. And we want something like that. In that moment, we have this. Perhaps the maximum aspiration of the planet today is to get these different areas to become pedestrian areas, but I propose to change pedestrian for citizen. And a citizen is citizen when can develop these citizen rights. And these rights at the end arrive to the streets in form of users. What is the improvement of the Superblock project can give us? At the beginning, we had research with different institutions. One of them is global, is epidemiology institution, one of the most important over the world. With us, with the agency and other institutions, universities in Barcelona, in Europe, even in the United States. At the end, the result was that we can avoid, attention, avoid quite 700 deaths prematurely every year for this reason. Okay? And also, sorry. And also, it's working? Yeah. And also, we can avoid more than 80,000 asthma attacks or even 12,000 bronchitis, serious bronchitis, or 600 cardiovascular hospitalizations. It means that we can, I don't know what is the word in English, ahorrar, save 1.7 billion of euros every year, because we don't need to pay the invoice of the health or the number of days that the workers don't can go to work. 1.7 billion of euros every year. And I said the cost of the implementation of the Superblocks is only 300 billions of euros, but for every time. The urban pollution is also reduced, since the 50% in this current situation where the people are living in a place with a level above of the legal laws. With the Superblock is reduced to 6% only. The noise is similar, and the temperature is also simulated for us, and we can reduce practically the 27% of the temperature of the material surface. 27% is a lot. In that case, we can have, for example, in a thermography by night in a part of Barcelona. In green, we can see how it reduced 4 degrees the temperature, because it's a green area, is a permeable area. In that case, we have here the temperature, the surface temperature of the materials in this shape, in this area of Barcelona. We can implant the Superblocks, we can reduce the 27% of this temperature. The biodiversity also increase a lot, because we can renaturalize the city. In the case of Barcelona, we have here the possibility to change the uses in the cross sections, in the intersections of the streets. And we can get 163 new squares of 2,000 square meters. In a typical Superblock, we can get 4 of these, practically 1 hectare, near, close of the residence places. Okay? And this is one of the tactical solutions. In that case, the museum, in that case, is a museum inside of the Superblock in Poblenou, give to the city these sculptures, okay, to enjoy in the public space. And the city council include all of these furnitures, and is always full of people eating. The workers go to eat when they finish, or when they have a break, etc. Or this other. This is one of the squares. Previously, is a cross with traffic. This is the case of a Superblock in Bogota, in San Felipe. This is the new square that the City Council is implementing today. In that moment, the public works are removing practically 4 of these squares and several streets inside of the Eixample fabric. Okay, this is the different solutions. This is another thing very important, in my opinion, because you can see here 2 lines of trees, the ancient and the news, even here, because the idea is to make a cover and make in shadow the street, canopy, the canopy, okay? Like an umbrella. We need something like that. And the new solutions in the new streets in this process, the regeneration, inside of the Superblock model, also the pavement is permeable. Different solutions. Imagine how Swanson or the other streets can arrive. What is the landscape that we can imagine after that? Okay, this is the part of the public space and mobility. But very quickly, I want to explain something about the Superblock like a basis of the ecosystemic urbanism. If we ask what is one of the characteristics of the ecosystems, is the scalability. It means this room is an ecosystem because we have here different elements with relationship. We have a projector, we have the good butacas, I don't know what is the word, the seat, for seat, very comfortable. We have a good temperature, etc. We control the different variables inside of here. But this building is also another ecosystem. And we can spread with different scales the same definition. I need to know what is the minimum urban ecosystem where I can include the 15 principles of the ecosystemic urbanism. Is the Superblock. Is about 20 hectares. Inside of the 20 hectares, I can develop the different principles without problem. One is little, is not possible. What is more than these 20 hectares, yes. Okay? It's like a fractal. And this fractal is like a little village, peaceful village. Okay? But in that case, we will include the morphology, the mobility, the habitability, all of that I explained previously. But also, we include how we can mix in uses, how many activities and diversity of them I can include inside of the superblock, or even the green space, or I can develop programs to make self-sufficient in energy, in water, in part in materials, above all waste fluxes. Or, in that case, we can implement programs to mitigate and adaptate this area to the climate change. Or even, we need to know how equity is our proposal for this superblock. The mix of different people living together in rents, in ages, even in cultures or etnias. What is the mix that can us to live together without problems? We can include, naturally, the dwellings, the housings, and also the facilities. All of this is inside of the superblock. And we analyze different projects where we can demonstrate that it is possible. And at the end, when we develop a new urban area, it's possible to make this easily. The difficulty comes when we want to regenerate the current fabrics. For this, we define the scores of different indicators, because when these indicators have these scores, all of the ecosystem go in balance, with balance, and at the end allow us to fight with the uncertainties that I explained at the beginning. It means that we need more than 100 dwellings per hectare, more than 2,050 inhabitants per hectare. We need a capacity above of 5 meters, etc., etc. We develop a certificate of ecosystemic urbanism. Is the methodology, is a book of 700 pages. The methodology to calculate all of this. Okay? But in a new urban development, we can develop these scores simply because we have the feedbacks that we need to arrive at this. We made something like that in different projects. But in a regeneration fabrics, we need the master plans, urbanistic master plans. We need sectorial plans, for example, mobility plan, or economic plan, or biodiversity plan, or etc. With this plan, the idea is to arrive to make close the current value in different indicators close to the referent, the scores of the referent in this superblock model. And with this, I won't finish. In that moment, I don't know if in Australia, but in Europe, and even in America, is very fashion, this question of proximity in the city. I don't know here. It's the same, no? Well, I am working in this concept for 30 years, okay? But it's very good related with the marketing, this 15, the city of the 15 minutes. Perfect. It's the best marketing. But the basis for this are this. We have here in coordinates all the legal entities. It means activities, institutions, NGOs, facilities, all that is organized inside of the city. Also, we have a zoom of this area, and we change every point, not every, because if not, it's not possible to read that I want, make something like that. Change the point for an ideogram, okay? If I put all, it's all occupied. It's impossible to read. But the idea is to implement a message, because this is a new dictionary to read the city. Every icon is a word. And with the informational theory, I can calculate what is the information inside of this message. Like the biodiversity, it's the same. Okay? This is the calculus of an entropy. And at the end, I have here a sentence, and this other more diverse sentence. The results in the territory is something like that. We have the calculus of complexity of the city. It means what is the level of organization in every part of the territory. Is a very, very important indicator, this. Is the key in a city. In that case, is the density of activities is different of diversity. And we have here the proximity, because is the simultaneous coverture of a 654 daily activities for residents. It means pharmacy, food, a bookshop, etc. 6 of them are less of 300 meters, 5 minutes walking. And practically all the city is inside of a 5 minutes walking. It's not important where you are living. Okay? Another thing important in the case of the Superblock model is in all the cases that we implement a Superblock, the economic activities increase at least 15%. We have a lot of Superblocks with more than the 50% of new activities. It's easy to understand because the urban quality increase a lot, and then is the best attraction for the activities to go inside inside of the Superblocks. The facilities. This is the public facilities. And in that case is the simultaneous coverture to 5 types of facilities: health, education, culture, social, sport. Public, but if we include also the private, then in that case it's not 5 minutes, it's 10 minutes, it's 600 meters. 600 meters, we can see how in Barcelona practically everybody have 5 or 4 basic facilities to live at least of 10 minutes walking. But it's not the same with the green areas. It's not good. We have a lack. We have a deficient scenario. In that case, it's 5 square meter green for inhabitant. It's practically all in red. With the Superblock, we will change this. Okay? And in this map, we can see the same, but for the stops of the public transport. In green is 3 kinds of public transport: tram, bus, train or metro. When we have 3, at least of 300 meters, 5 minutes, is in green. Okay? You can see that the accessibility of my city is incredible. It's very good. Okay? And thank you.
Thank you, Salvador. We have a time for a Q&A. So we might just start with, I've got 7 questions here online, so thank you for those. But maybe we'll just start with someone in the room. If anyone hasn't been able to access the QR code, maybe you've got a burning question, then shoot your hand up. Otherwise, happy to go over to the online question. Does anyone have a question they want to ask? I can pass the microphone. Okay. Okay, Tim. Yeah.
Tim Peggy from Ethos Urban Director, and also on the planning committee for the undergraduate and postgraduate courses. Salvador, one thing that strikes me that's very different between Barcelona and some of the other examples you use in Melbourne is the one-way systems that exist in terms of traffic moving in one direction down streets. Melbourne's very not one-way street orientated, with the exception of some of the lanes in the CBD. But do you want to talk about how instrumental that is in terms of the Superblock, having those streets, having one-way streets, and how they work in regards to that?
In Barcelona, the streets only have one direction. Okay. In that case, I think with the current sections, cross sections in the CBD, I can see that it's possible. If you want, to go in a unique direction, like in Barcelona, or in both directions. The proposal in my case is to use only a lane for cars in both directions. But I think we need, why not, to make some simulations to know what is the level of saturation that we will have with the proposed. But I can see the numbers of the average of intensity of traffic in a day, and it's not, for me, it's not boring. No, it's not. In the case of Barcelona, it's multiplied for several times the number of cars in a street. Because in Barcelona, the municipality of Barcelona is very short, a lot of concentrated. We have more than 6,000 vehicles per square kilometer. Is very high, but it's possible to do this. Okay.
Okay, I'll go to an online question here. Salvador, the question here is about the area outside of the CBD. So we talked about that in the workshop. That's Melbourne CBD. It's a very small area of the whole of the Melbourne area. What changes would you make to areas outside the CBD where superblocks might not be possible?
Yeah. In my explanation, I propose a grid for all the city. Why not in Melbourne? Because everybody must have the same urban quality. It's not important where the people are living. We need to spread. At the end, it's the same. And people want working in their neighborhood, not? Then my idea is to spread this scheme for the CBD and spread in the edges and more in all the city. In the suburb, it's possible, yes. It's possible, yes, because it doesn't matter. It's easier. Okay? In that moment, it's a desert, and tomorrow will be a desert. A little more livability, livable. Okay?
Thanks. Any other questions in the room? Yeah, okay, up there. Do you want to shout it out? All right, I'll repeat it, if that's all right. Go for it.
I've been seeing a lot of conversations online from people who are maybe a little bit newer to urbanism and kind of ideas of walkability. And one of their main concerns is that kind of a divestment from cars will mean that disabled people will have a harder time moving about their communities. Can you speak a little bit to kind of the benefits of walkability and superblocks for people who have maybe mobility issues or any kind of access issues?
Yeah.
So, yeah, what's the... I
I
wonder
think-
whether there was any...
I think the group happier when we explain the superblock is the vulnerable people, the disabled people, the women. Because at the end, as is a safety space, as full of people, is safety also in security citizen security, is accessible for everybody because all the street is for them, and at the beginning we always propose projects where the most vulnerable people is included. If not, is not good for us, the project.
Okay, thank you. Oh, hi. Can I just hand you the microphone? Because
I have quite a loud voice. I really like the idea of increasing density of living, people living in housing, and that will mean higher rise. Yeah. But one of the problems is that a lot of our high-rise apartments built recently are not really livable. There are issues of inflammable cladding, lack of access to light and fresh air. So how do we improve our planning and building regulations and enforce them so that we can live with greater density, but as good citizens? Because I love that idea.
I proposed in my model the capacity, it means density. But what is the quantity of density that we can accept? This is the question. And for this, one of the indicators is the capacity corrected. It means the relationship between the surface dedicated to build buildings, even the surface dedicated to mobility, and the other hand, the surface dedicated to the relax, the contact with the nature, the decompression. Okay? This balance is the key to have a very good life in the city. When we have this greater one with other inside, close, very near, attention, because this density is not good. We need to have this balance. If not, we have too much density to leave the public space in the best conditions. Okay? Other thing is the habitability inside of the apartments is another thing. Okay? But from the urbanism, this balance is basic, like the balance between our life. Agree? We need a part of our day to sleep and relax. This balance, if it's not good, we become sick. The city is the same. This balance is the key. And we have the numbers, the scores, to know what is the balance. In an occasion in Barcelona, a politic invited me to make a lecture because they want to propose a high density in a part of the city. Too much density. And I said, I don't want to go. Why? Because I'm not agree with this density. I don't want to support your idea of this density. I agree with a balance between the comprehension of the city. It means we need organization in the city, because if not, the city is not competitive, and we need the city competitive. But in the other hand, we need a city with green, with relax, with no noise, with peaceful spaces. In the Superblocks appear perfect.
Okay, Munir. Okay. Hi.
Just a question about implementing this in Barcelona. How did the community take the idea, like the residents and the businesses? How did they respond to this? And was there any resistance, and how do you overcome it?
In every case, it's a little war. That is important to resist. This is the manual. About the 30% of people is against to change the habits. Don't want. And also the owner of retails and commerce also against, because they think their business go bad after that. It's not true. It's the contrary. But they are superstitious. All the owner of retails are superstitious. I don't have the time to explain this, but it's true. I'm a psychologist. But when you change the uses of the public space, make peaceful the public space, the street, after several weeks, their business improve. Practically in all the cases. Is the reason why arrive other activities. The people is not silly, okay? And the people against the project at the beginning, you need to wait for 1 year or 1 year and a half. Normally, these people is the most exciting for the project, and embrace the project even more than the people that don't say nothing. It's always the same. Why? Because you collapse the area? No. It's not collapsing. You increases the pollution, the noise, the accident practically disappear, because at 10 kilometers per hour, no deaths, not serious accidents. And at 30 kilometers per hour in the perimeter, it means that you are reducing practically the 50% of the serious accidents. All the variables, global variables like the greenhouse gases, etc., is reduced. And the urban quality increased a lot. What is the problem then? The habit? They will change the habit. And when they change the habit, they embrace the project.
Okay, well, I think really, Salvador, I'm afraid I feel like we're just getting started, and there are actually a whole heap of questions, but unfortunately we're out of time. So I think we're going to have to end it there, if that's okay. But I'd like you all to join me very much in thanking Salvador Rueda for this wonderful talk. Really, something of a force of nature, I think, and a fantastic proposal and an amazing story for Barcelona. So thank you again.
Thank you to you.